Hey guys, this is Eric Weingarten with Weingarten Racing. Short video this time, not long. Just wanted to kind of show off what I've done here with this intake manifold and talk about intake porting. This is a 2928, so it's for a small block Ford. It's their Super Victor that fits the 8.2 deck. Right now it'd be a rare commodity since Edelbrock's having a hard time putting down anything. Anyway, this is for one of my customers who just finished up porting it. As you can tell, it's dramatically different from what it was. But anyway, one of the questions that people keep asking is, do you flow the intakes? What's it flow before and after? I will go ahead and tell you straight up, I don't do that anymore. I'd made a fixture so I could flow this intake or flow any intake, and I was using them pretty solid. And what I'd do is I'd flip this upside down. I had a fixture that bolts onto this, and then what it would do is so this whole intake's upside down. It would blow air just like this way, and then I could measure the amount of flow for it. The problem is that's one of those things where the flow bench for sure lies to you in a way. I mean, it does give you useful data, not going to deny that, but there's some things that it would lead you astray in. One of them is this. So if you look at this, this is the radius is right here, which it looks small, but on a flow bench, I have a nice area here. And what I'm looking for when I'm porting, and I'll back up a little bit. What I'm looking for when I'm porting is a couple of things. One's line of sight. I think that's the most important thing to me. So even though I might make the opening bigger than what it probably should be, if it hits the line of sight, I feel better about it. Second thing is the entry area. So there's always a minimum that you have to have, otherwise it chokes off the entrance. But what I mean by line of sight though is the carburetor needs to see that. So I need to see this. So there's sometimes like on these outer ones, I'll make them wider just so they can kind of see it. The problem is I know it's bigger than what it should be, but I get a better spot this way, because what you can do is, well, I could have made it smaller here as far as the entrance, but it would have a poorer line of sight. So it would look like it would make more power, but in fact, just because it's not because it's bigger, it made more power, but it's because it could see the carb better. So that's one of the things. Anyway, back to the radius. This little radius right here, this is, to me, is perfect for what this is going to be going on. However, on a flow bench, what I'd found, and I was doing it for almost 2 solid straight years, doing it every intake. If it had a bigger radius, it would flow more. You might be like, so do put a bigger radius. Well, the problem with that is that the area itself in the port, it gets smaller, because if you add a radius, I'm getting a pen. If you add a radius here, make it bigger, it's shrinking this, so your area is getting smaller for the entrance. So it looks really good on the flow bench. The problem is it doesn't have enough area here, and it actually limits your RPM potential, hence limiting your amount of power you're making. Now, in a perfect world, you would have enough room where you could make a nice radius and make the area you want. But for most cases, it can't happen, because there's a couple things. If you make the intake taller, well, of course, you could spread the runners out. Well, hood clearance. Most people don't want to have a carburetor sticking out, or a fuel injected throttle body, or something sticking out in front of the hood. So you're limited by your carb height. The other thing is that the flow bench would lie to you on is you might have a short runner that flows really, really good, and just be phenomenal, but you could have a different intake manifold that flowed less but made more power because the runner length was longer or more in tune for what the engine was trying to do. So the flow bench made it look like the short runner was definitely the ticket. It flowed more than the long runner, but the long runner's tune length was more important than the flow. And that's often the case with intake manifolds, because runner length is one thing really dictated by the intake manifold. Because in a cylinder head, there's only so much space you have. You have from the valve to the intake face, and for the most part, every head, no matter the manufacturer, it's pretty close to the same, maybe 2/10 to 3/10 of a difference. And unless it's a raised runner, then it might gain a few more. Most of your runner length, total runner length, comes from the manifold. So if you have a short manifold, the runner length gets shorter. The taller the manifold, because it's trying to meet the carb pad, the taller the manifold, the usually the longer runners. You typically, and this is just being generic, longer runners make more torque and shorter runners make more horsepower at higher RPM. But that's not always the truth, because there's points where the shorter runner will make more horsepower at a certain RPM. And I'm not necessarily saying shorter, but like a mid-length. In other words, there are tune lengths that go with an engine per RPM. And the goal is to find a manifold that fits that. But on the flow bench, all you see is flow. You don't take into account the runner length. So just getting back to it, the runner length is more important than the flow you saw on the flow bench. And that's one of those things where it's lied at. So after 2 years of doing that and looking at flow data and stuff, I just stopped doing it. The only time I flow it's when I'll flow a head attached to the manifold that's going to be ran. Because what I'll do is I'll try to pick a manifold that works great for the combination, then work the head, then work the manifold to get it to use as much as it can, right areas, right line of sight, and flow it that way. That's the best way to do it. Flowing the individual manifold just like this and giving it to a customer and saying, hey, this other one flows more, will lead you in a bad position. Anyway, just let you look in here, you Ford guys. If you have any questions, let me know. By the way, this is not, it looks smoother than what it is, but it could just be the lighting. This is 60 grit, except for at the bottom, that's pretty rough. This is a pink stone, which is like 24 grit or something. Pretty rough. Anyway, people keep asking, and I'll end up again. This is my contact information. You can contact me this way. Anyway, thanks for watching. Enjoy your evening. Sorry if it went a little long.